Hello and welcome to our channel, Shakespeare's Plays and Summaries, where we go over the works of William Shakespeare. Be sure to subscribe and check out our library of videos. So you think your family holidays are stressful? Well, try being Imogen, the Princess of Britain. Her secret marriage to a guy her dad calls a poor but worthy gentleman has just kicked off a full-blown national crisis. Yes, see, in the world of Cymbeline, love isn't just, a personal choice. Oh no, it is a straight-up act of defiance. We're talking defiance against a furious king and a wicked queen with some seriously deadly ambition. So forget what you think you know about royal romances. This is a high-stakes thriller. We're talking about a story where a single diamond ring and one toxic bed in Rome can flip a fairy tale marriage into an absolute nightmare. And you won't believe how fast it all goes down. A royal wedding leads to a literal contract for murder. Yeah, it's that intense. All right, let's dive into the first part of this mess. The royal wedding crisis. Right from the get-go, when we meet Imogen, she's already in the crosshairs. Her father, King Cymbeline, is absolutely furious. And why? Because she dared to choose the man she loves, an orphan named Posthumus Leonatus, over the guy her dad wanted for her stepbrother, Cloten. And just to give you an idea of what kind of guy Cloten is, the courtiers literally describe him as a thing too bad for bad report. I mean, wow. You can see why she wasn't interested. So what does the king do? He doesn't just disapprove. He banishes Posthumus, just like that. And as these two lovers are torn apart, they exchange these incredibly important tokens of their devotion. And trust me, these symbols, they're going to become absolutely crucial as this whole plot unfolds. Let's talk about these tokens of forbidden love. Because we're not just talking about any old keepsakes here. These things are basically promises, binding two hearts together even when a whole kingdom is trying to keep them apart. So here's what they do. Imogen gives Posthumus her own mother's diamond ring. It's incredibly precious to her. In return, he gives her what he calls a manacle of love, a beautiful bracelet, and places it on her arm. But, it's not just the king they have to worry about. Oh no, behind the scenes, the queen is playing a much deadlier game. She's secretly plotting to poison Imogen. Why? Also, her own son, that arrogant and violent creep Cloten, can get his hands on the throne. Okay, so things are bad in Britain. But the real trouble? It's about to start in Rome. This is where the story completely escalates. We're talking about the 10,000 ducat bet. So picture this. Posthumus is now in Rome. He's lonely, he's defensive, he's in a foreign land, and he is goaded into making a massive mistake. He gets into this argument with a villainous guy named Iachimo, and he makes a wager, a bet that no man alive can seduce his wife, Imogen. And Iachimo, who is this total master manipulator, he immediately puts a fortune on the table. We're talking 10,000 ducats. That is a staggering amount of money. But Posthumus, he doesn't bet money. He bets something so much more precious. He puts up the diamond ring, the one from Imogen, the one from her mother. It's the very symbol of their love, of her honor, and he just put it on the table. So Iachimo travels all the way to Britain. He tries to woo Imogen with all these lies, saying Posthumus is being unfaithful, but it doesn't work. Not for a second. Imogen sees right through him. She is way too smart to be tricked by some smooth-talking Roman. But here's the thing about Iachimo. He does not take no for an answer. And when he realizes he can't win her heart, well, he decides he's just going to steal her reputation instead. This is where things get really dark. So he comes up with this devious plan. He begs Imogen, please, can you just store this large trunk in your bedroom for safekeeping? He claims it's filled with valuable treasure for the emperor. It's just for one night. Of course, she has no idea that the real treasure is Iachimo himself hiding inside that very trunk. And so, as the sun goes down and the entire palace falls silent, the ultimate home invasion is about to begin. The course of true love, as they say, is about to be completely derailed by a hidden voyeur, a mole that's going to change everything. So the question is, what secret is he about to steal from Imogen's private chamber? What could he possibly find that will be enough to falsely win his bet and completely destroy her marriage? So just picture this for a second. The one place you're supposed to feel totally safe, right? Your own bedroom. Well, here, it becomes the scene of a perfect frame-up. As Princess Imogen is fast asleep, a plot kicks into gear that is going to completely shatter her world. And get this, it all starts with a man hiding inside a trunk. All right, a tempter of the night. So how exactly does this whole frame-up even begin? Well, it starts with a violation, but not a physical one. It's an attack on trust, on truth itself, and it's all carried out by this shadowy figure in the dead of night. So while Imogen is fast asleep, completely unaware, the lid of this huge trunk in her room just creaks open. And a man, his name's Iachimo, he crawls out. He's this tempter of the night. And his whole mission is just pure evil, really. He's there to collect fake evidence to prove she's been unfaithful. And you gotta see how this guy operates. It's brilliant in a really twisted way. He doesn't lay a finger on her. No, he does something much, much creepier. He starts meticulously cataloging everything in her room. The pictures on the wall, the design of the windows, even how her bed is decorated. He's building his lie, piece by piece, using the truth of her surroundings. It's all about blurring that line between what's real and what's fake. And then he finds his masterstroke, the one piece of ocular proof he needs. It's this one intimate detail that no stranger could ever know. He sees a tiny mole on her breast, and he describes it with this weirdly poetic line. Sink-spotted, like the crimson drops at the bottom of a cowslip. This right here? This is the poison that's going to make his whole story believable. To really seal the deal, he gently slides a precious bracelet right off her arm while she's sleeping. So now, with the secret knowledge of that mole and the stolen bracelet in his pocket, he has everything he needs. The frame-up is complete. He just slips back into the trunk, and just like that, he's left her life and her reputation completely in tatters. So now we get to the poison of a lie. Let's head over to Rome, because we need to see how this carefully crafted poison actually does its work. You know, a lie like this, when it's delivered with total confidence, can be way more destructive than any weapon. Okay, so back in Rome, Iachimo lays out his evidence for Imogen's husband, Posthumus. He describes that mole with chilling accuracy. He dangles the stolen bracelet in front of him, and that is all it takes. Seriously, the power of jealousy is terrifying. Posthumus's mind just snaps. He screams that he's been stamped by a coiner, that Imogen is a fake, she's counterfeit. And just like that, all his love turns instantly into this pure, blinding rage. And this isn't just some passing anger. No, this rage leads to a truly horrifying plan. It's cold and calculated. First, he sends a letter to his trusted servant, Pisanio. Second, he tells him to arrange a meeting with Imogen at a remote place called Milford Haven. And third, the command is simple and brutal. Kill Imogen. And thankfully, Pisanio is a decent guy. He has a conscience. He just can't bring himself to murder the princess he's sworn to protect. So, instead of following that awful order, he tells Imogen everything. His solution? She has to vanish. So he helps her disguise herself as a boy named Fiddly. And this is where her own incredible test of survival really begins. A fugitive in the mountains. And really just like that, her entire world is turned upside down. One minute she's a princess in a palace. The next she's a fugitive out in the wild. Her identity is gone, and she's being hunted by the man who vowed to love her. Just think about this incredible contrast for a second. On one hand, you've got Princess Imogen betrayed, sentenced to death, a member of the royal court. And on the other, you have Fiddly the boy, disguised, on the run in the wilderness, just a lonely wanderer in the mountains. She literally has to shed everything she ever was just to have a shot at surviving. Sparks of nature. Because even in this totally desolate wilderness, you know, fate has another twist up its sleeve. Right when she's at her absolute lowest, she finds a flicker of hope, a real connection, in the most unlikely place you could imagine. So, completely lost, exhausted, starving, the disguised Imogen just stumbles upon this hidden cave. And when she goes inside, she doesn't find monsters. She finds 3 men, an older guy, sort of a hermit named Belarius, and 2 really fierce but noble-looking young warriors who are clearly living off the land. So of course, you've got to ask, who are these guys? What are they doing living way out here, so far from civilization? And maybe even weirder, why do they seem to have this immediate, almost instinctual bond with this strange boy, Fiddly, who just wandered into their lives? And the truth? Well, it's pretty incredible. What none of them have any idea about is that these 2 young men are actually Imogen's long-lost brothers. They're the true princes of Britain. Turns out, they were kidnapped 20 years earlier by Belarius, all as part of a revenge plot against their father, the king. And that explains everything, doesn't it? It's why their bond is so instant, so powerful. Even though they have no idea they're related, these sparks of nature just fly between them. It's like their blood is recognizing itself. It's family finding family on a level that's way deeper than just memory or conscious thought. The hunter becomes hunted, right? Because this fragile little happy family moment they're having in the mountains? Yeah, it was never gonna last. The danger she was running from at court, it's followed her, and it is about to crash into their hidden little world. So the disgusting Prince Cloten, who is still completely obsessed with Imogen, has actually tracked her all the way to Wales. And get this, in a really twisted move, he's wearing Posthumus's clothes. His plan is absolutely monstrous. He wants to kill Posthumus, or who he thinks is Posthumus, and then assault Imogen right there in front of her new friends. But Cloten, being this arrogant court prince, he has absolutely no idea what he's walking into. He has completely, totally underestimated these tough, capable guys who grew up in the mountains. The predator is about to find out what it's like to be the prey. The confrontation is over almost before it begins. It's swift, and it is brutal. One of the brothers, Guiderius, confronts Cloten, and without a second thought, he beheads him and just throws his head into a river. Problem solved. The threat is, well, it's eliminated. So where on earth does this leave Imogen? Think about it. There's a war kicking off as the Roman army invades Britain. She wakes up next to a headless body that she thinks is her own husband. So she's caught between a war, a headless corpse. What happens now? Seriously, how can anyone survive this? All right, now we are diving into the absolutely wild grand finale of one of Shakespeare's most complex plays, Cymbeline. Literally everything is on the line. A kingdom's fate, our heroes' lives, the whole shebang. So picture this. We are smack in the middle of the action. You've got two massive armies just colliding on the coast. There's this fog of war hanging over everything. And our main characters? They're lost, scattered, right in the thick of it all. It is pure chaos. Okay, so let's get into this chaos on the coast. This desperate plight. Because for our heroes, this isn't just some big battle for a kingdom. No, it's way more personal. It's an absolute crisis. They're lost, they're grieving, and they are completely tangled up in this insane web of mistaken identity. And the tragic irony here is just. So on one side you've got Imogen. She's disguised as a boy, right? She wakes up next to a headless body wearing her husband's clothes. So naturally she's convinced he's dead. At the exact same time, Posthumus is just drowning in guilt because he thinks he had her killed. And get this, he's come back to fight and die for the very country that banished him. They're both grieving for each other, and neither has a clue that the other is still alive. It's heartbreaking. So right when she's hit rock bottom, in her deepest despair, Imogen finds this, well, an unlikely protector. The Roman general Lucius finds her and takes her in as his page. He has no idea who she is. He just thinks she's this loyal page boy named Fiddly. And just like that, without knowing it, she's now right in the heart of the enemy camp. All right, let's zoom out from that personal chaos and turn to the battlefield itself. Because while our heroes are caught up in their own tragedies, the fate of all of Britain is hanging by a thread, and honestly, it is not looking good. And I mean, this is no exaggeration at all. The British army is getting hammered. They're about to be completely wiped out. The Romans are just pouring through their lines. It really looks like it's over. But then something happens. Something that is just, well, it's a miracle. Right when it seems like all is lost, these three mysterious figures appear. They're basically mountain men, an old warrior, and two young guys. They plant themselves in this narrow lane and make this incredible, heroic stand. Against all odds, the three of them hold back the entire Roman army. The text calls it a noble fury, and they single-handedly turn the tide of the entire war. It's just legendary stuff. So yeah, against all odds, Britain is victorious. And this victory? It sets the stage for the grand finale. Everybody who's anybody is brought into King Cymbeline's tent for the final reckoning. You've got the king, the Roman prisoners, including Lucius and his page, Fiddly, the mystery heroes, even a disguised Posthumus. Everyone is in one place. And this is where it all comes undone. Now we're at the great unraveling. And what happens next is, I'm not kidding, One of the most jam-packed, explosive reveal scenes in all of literature. All those tangled threads of lies and secrets and mistaken identities are about to grab a hold and pull, and the whole thing is going to unravel. Fast. So can you feel the tension inside that tent? It's got to be electric. Cymbeline's got everyone there. His prisoners, his heroes, his court. But he has no earthly idea that almost nobody in that tent is who they seem to be. Oh, how does it all start? How does that first crack in the wall of secrets appear? It really is like a line of dominoes. The first one falls, and it just sets off this chain reaction. One confession leads to another, and each one is more shocking than the last, until finally, the entire truth is out there for everyone to see. And it all kicks off with a confession from beyond the grave, from the queen. So, the king's doctor steps up and drops the first bombshell. The queen is dead. And wait, there's more. On her deathbed, she confessed everything. Turns out, she never loved Cymbeline, not for a second. In fact, she was plotting to poison both him and his daughter, Imogen. Just like that, the evil that was rotting the court from the inside is finally dragged into the light. Okay, so the next domino is about to tip. Posthumus, still in disguise, sees something. He spots a ring on the finger of the villain, Iachimo, and he recognizes it. It's the ring he gave Imogen. He just flies into a rage, right then and there. This whole confrontation forces Iachimo to his knees, and now the second, much more personal truth is about to come out. And Iachimo he spills everything. He tells the whole court about the disgusting bet he made, about hiding in that trunk in Imogen's bedroom, and about stealing her bracelet just so he could prove she was unfaithful. The whole thing was a lie, a truly vile trick from start to finish. And you can just imagine what this does to Posthumus. The weight of that confession just crushes him. He realizes, in that moment, that he ordered the murder of his wife, his completely innocent, faithful wife, all based on a lie. He just breaks down, right there in front of everybody, totally consumed by grief and self-hatred. And it's right in the middle of his breakdown, his absolute agony, that the page boy fiddily rushes forward. And it's not a page boy at all. It's Imogen. She's alive. After everything, they're finally reunited, in pretty much the most dramatic way you could possibly imagine. But believe it or not, the reveals are not over yet. Not even close. Because just as this one family is put back together, an even bigger secret is about to drop. One that, involves the entire kingdom. So King Cymbeline turns to the heroes of the hour, right? The two guys from the mountains who save the day. And that's when their guardian, this old man named Belarius, reveals the biggest truth of all. These two brave warriors, they are Guiderius and Arviragus. They are Cymbeline's own sons, stolen from the cradle. This is it. This is the moment the kingdom is finally made whole again. The lost heirs have returned. There was actually a prophecy about this, about the princely eagle, that's the sons, being restored to the majestic cedar, their father, the king. The entire royal family, after all these years, is finally reunited. Okay, let's recap. The villains are exposed, the long-lost heroes are revealed, the family is back together. So you'd think what comes next is some good old-fashioned justice, right? Punish the captured Romans, celebrate the victory. But Cymbeline has one last surprise up his sleeve. Just one more thing. A final, completely unexpected act. Get this. After winning a war that was fought specifically to avoid paying tribute to Rome, Cymbeline decides to pay the tribute anyway. He just completely forgives his enemies. He chooses peace over pride, grace over glory. He wants to unite the two nations, not crush the one he just defeated. So this epic, chaotic, totally crazy story doesn't end with revenge. It ends with reconciliation. The final image is about a harmony of this peace. It's not about who won or lost the battle. It's about building a future of peace and plenty for everybody involved. And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on, doesn't it? After all the lies, the betrayals, the near-death moments, everyone somehow finds their way back home, back to where they belong. It kind of makes you wonder, can even the most twisted paths lead you home in the end? Enjoyed Cymbeline? Shop our collection at the Atheneum Hub. Link in the description.